Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time here. I am your host, Davin James, glad to be here with all of you guys here today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving a like, a comment, or even subscribing to the channel. Obviously hit that bell for notifications. That story involves a police officer from Australia who has been accused of manslaughter. This police officer was called to a local care home where a 95-year-old dementia patient was waving around a knife that she had got from like a kitchen drawer. And of course, she's obviously going to be out of her mind. Police officer, while off duty, was called to the local care home to try and defuse the situation as calmly as possible. Well, unfortunately, that didn't go as planned. Because obviously now he's being accused of manslaughter because he tased the 95-year-old woman who again has dementia, and she then fell, hurt her head, and unfortunately died long afterwards from injuries to the brain. On this, once you've listened to these episodes, and secondly, let's actually get on with today's episode. The policeman accused of manslaughter after tasering a woman in care home has told the court why he did it. In May 2023, Senior Constable Christian White was called out of duty and asked to attend the large nursing home in New South Wales, Australia. Ambulance officers were in need of assistance in dealing with an aggressive resident who was carrying a knife. Staff had sought help after Clare Nowland had picked up two knives from the nursing home kitchen in the middle of the night. It is said she was risking the safety of others and at one point threw one knife at a staff member. Holy shit. Whew. White was to disarm the great-grandma who had symptoms of dementia and argued in court he tried to give her every opportunity to drop the steak knife. However, in CCTV footage and a body cam video of the incident, the court heard that he eventually said "bugger it" and discharged the taser. Wow. Nowland then fell and fractured her skull. The 95-year-old died a week later in hospital after suffering innumerable bleeding in the brain. Oof. From the witness box, the police officer said his intention was to take Nowland and disarm her of the knife. "I'm upset and devastated by it," White said. "I never intended for her to be injured by it at all." He explained he didn't want to have to tase the woman, but he was weighing up the safety of everyone present. While under questioning from his defense barrister, Troy Edwards added, "Our job is to maintain the peace. Letting her wander the corridors with her armed knife would definitely, in my mind, be a breach of that peace." The officer said he believed the tasering was justified in meeting the expectational criteria test required by police for the use of a taser on an elderly person. He admitted he didn't know about this test until after it had took place. That came up when his partner, then Acting Sergeant Jessica Pank, showed him the police procedures. First of all, what police officer does not know all the procedures within your job? Like, I don't know how long this guy's been in charge. I don't know how long this guy's been law enforcement for, but surely you should know every single procedure that you need to follow when you're a police officer, regardless of who it is you're dealing with or what the situation is. You should know everything by the book. You know, that's my expectation anyway. When the case began at NSW Supreme Court early this month, Edwards said, "It's not in dispute that the injuries from the taser is ultimately what killed her. However, he had argued that the use of it in the first place was a reasonable use of force." Prosecutor Brett Hatfield said the Crown would argue, well, White was guilty of manslaughter by the way of criminal negligence or by the way of unlawful and dangerous act. He owed a duty of care to Miss Nowland, including the duty not to cause her serious harm, he said. What you guys think of the story, please feel free to let me know your comments down below. For me personally, like, this is a crazy story. I don't really know anyone who's worked in a care home before. I don't really know. I personally understand it's not always easy. There's sometimes going to be stressful moments, as with any sort of working environment, and especially when you're dealing with elderly people as well. And of course, it takes it up a notch when they have dementia, because that's never easy. That's always a lot more difficult. And I completely understand, the reasoning for wanting to get a police officer out to try and help the situation that's going on, like the scene that's going on with this elderly woman who unfortunately has dementia and is waving around a knife and she has no idea whatsoever what she is doing, or that this item in her hand could cause a very serious threat and injury to an individual or individuals. With the way this guy just said bugger it and then decided to tase the elderly woman with a taser gun, that to me says like he showed no sympathy whatsoever, and that he did not care within that moment as to like what would happen to the elderly woman. The person says to me like he didn't care whatsoever what would happen to the elderly woman once she was tased. And of course now we know she suffered a head injury and of course a lot of internal bleeding to the head, and unfortunately she passed away. Like, I don't know what kind of training a police officer would be put under. I don't know what kind of training would be required for like a staff member in a nursing home or a police officer that's been called out to the nursing home because, a resident there has dementia and is waving around a weapon that could. So I don't know what kind of method you could use in that sort of situation to try and calm her and to convince her to really drop the weapon. There had to be another way, surely, for this guy to have handled the situation in a better, correct manner than to taser this woman, and then with that being part of her assault that ended up taking her life in a sense. Like, maybe that's just me, I don't know. I am familiar with dementia in some capacity or another. I've had it in my family. Someone else I know has had it in their family, is still going through that as well. So I know it's a tricky situation to be involved in. It's a horrible disease, and yeah, you can't really put it into words. But let me know your feelings down below. Do you think this police officer was justified in his method of protecting the residents and the staff within that care home? Do you disagree with his methods? With using a taser and just saying bugger it, as there was no big deal as to what would happen next to the resident in that care home who is unfortunately suffering with dementia? What would you have done differently if you had the choice to have done things differently if you were in that situation? Let me know your thoughts down below. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.